This micro lesson is on eutrophication and the effects and impacts eutrophication has on the environment and on biodiversity. To start with, let's quickly go over the process of eutrophication because this lends itself to a 6-mark question in the exams. So to start with, eutrophication happens because of humans. Farmers add fertilizer to fields, and what fertilizer does, so this is nitrogen-based fertilizer, is it makes plants grow. Now that's fine, assuming it doesn't rain. However, if fertilizer has been put down and then it rains, fertilizer leaches, and that just means runs, into the waterway. And what fertilizer does, as mentioned, is makes plants grow. And plants in the water grow very, very quickly. Now the plants that grow first and quickest is a very small plant called algae, and they grow on the surface of the water. So here you have algae. You can see here algae growing very, very quickly all over the surface of the water. Now what that does is block off the sunlight from the slower growing plants below. And so now the plants down here can no longer get any sunlight. And a plant without sunlight can't photosynthesize, so it's not producing oxygen, and eventually it'll come to die. Now, because suddenly we've got plants dying down here, we have bacteria that start breaking down and decomposing the plants. Now, as bacteria respire, like all living things that respire, they release carbon dioxide into the environment, so this is the aquatic environment, and take in oxygen. And eventually we get this anoxic water, which means without oxygen, which plants, fish, all insect life dies off in. And this is eutrophication. So what we can see here is the problem of eutrophication. This is a before picture where we can see there is very little algae in the water due to a lack of nitrate fertilizers. And here, because of eutrophication, we've got the fertilizers, nitrogen-based fertilizers washed in, algae started to grow, and other than the algae on the top, everything beneath is dead. Here is an exam question on eutrophication, and it's quite a tricky one because it's not that standard describe, which just involves a step-by-step process of eutrophication. This is talking about explain, and what that word means is you need to say why, and to say why, use the word because in your answer. So explain how eutrophication can change the biodiversity. Don't forget that word biodiversity means the range of animals and plants living in an environment. So how it can change the biodiversity in an aquatic, so water-based ecosystem. To start with, quickly recap eutrophication. So your first mark is going to come from saying that eutrophication happens because fertilizers wash into the water, causing algae to grow on the surface. That's going to pick you up 1 mark. Your next mark is coming from here. You're going to say that algae grows on the surface and that stops sunlight getting into plants below. Therefore, the plants below are dying. You've now justified this biodiversity. You've said that plants are dying, so you're saying how it impacts that. So plants below are dying. Because the plants below are dying, oxygen is no longer being produced via photosynthesis. Therefore, so you're making that link between your points, therefore the animal life in the water will no longer survive because it has a lack of oxygen for respiration. That way you've picked up your 3 marks. You've started with eutrophication, you've linked it to the animal life and the plant life, relating it back to algae preventing sunlight getting in. Test your understanding of eutrophication using these 5 questions. I will put the answers in the comments below.